TheJamies.net.
We sailed on the Holland America Koningsdam for 14 nights, from late December 2025 into early January 2026. During our cruise, we had the privilege to sit down with Brandon Rahming, the ship's cruise director, for a chat about his personal experiences and insights working for Holland America Line. Just a quick note that if you enjoy this video, please give us a thumbs up or leave a comment. It really helps our channel. And consider subscribing so you get alerted when we add new videos.
Hello, my name is Brandon Rahming, and currently on board the beautiful Koningsdam, I am the cruise director. So some of the responsibilities of the cruise director, there's a whole lot, by the way, I just want to point that out. But one of the main attributes of my job is to be the MC of the ship. So what does the MC of the ship actually mean? In terms of I have to host the bigger parties, the mariners, the social activities, and the social gatherings as well on board. Being the MC of the ship, just walking around, interacting with guests, making sure they enjoy their cruise, right? So I am from the lovely islands of the Bahamas, and I just want to point out that the Bahamas is the most beautiful country in the world. So I grew up on an island called New Providence. A lot of people know it as Nassau. I started my hospitality career at a resort called Bahamar in the Bahamas, and that's where I started as the recruitment coordinator. I transitioned over to the learning and development coordinator. Then I went to an HR specialist role, and then I started my cruise ship career as an HR specialist as well for another cruise line. I started with Holland America as an HR coordinator. Sometimes people are very shocked that I started out in human resources and how I'm now in entertainment. So I would say on a stormy night, I went to the entertainment director of a particular ship and I reached out to him and said, I want to be a part of entertainment. So I've been with the cruise industry for about 4 years now. Like I said, I worked for a previous cruise line and I started as in human resources. So I worked on their private island. I wasn't on board ships as of yet, but the lifestyle was kind of similar to cruise ships because I had a 4 months on, 2 months off. So I would kind of meet a lot of the crew members coming on the island and they would tell me all about the cruise ship life. So after I left that previous company, a recruiter reached out to me from Holland America Line asking if I want to join as an HR coordinator. So I took the opportunity and said, you know what, this is something completely different. And I did not really understand what it means to be a crew member on board because the first thing I thought was, I just need a job, I want to work, it is what it is. So then my first contract literally was in Alaska, and I would say that it was one of the best experiences I've ever had. So for me, wanting and being a crew member is kind of being a part of a community itself. I think the most rewarding thing about working on a cruise ship is, like I said previously, it's meeting all of these amazing people and understanding different cultures and understanding different facets of life. We have around 1,000 crew members on board. So the minute that you walk out of your hallway and you go into our I-95 area, which is on deck A, we call it I-95 because it kind of looks like a highway. So the minute you go on that I-95 highway, you have team members just saying, hey, 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 and just greeting each other with such a positive energy. So that's one of the most rewarding things that I would say working with a cruise line. It's just understanding people in different cultures and seeing where they're at and understanding how they go about their day to day. So I would say one of the most challenging things for me personally is being from the Caribbean and maybe having a little bit of an accent can be a bit challenging. I think a lot of times guests expect me to have some form of Caribbean lingo, and sometimes it comes out. And even during this interview, you will hear me talking in a little bit of my slang or a little bit of my dialect. And I try to hound it in because, you know, in the Caribbean and specifically in the Bahamas, we speak proper English, we have all of that good stuff, but just like any other English-speaking country, everyone has an accent. When the majority of our guests are from one place and, you know, they may have not been exposed to a certain accent. So sometimes it can be a bit tricky when communicating with guests. So for me, I always put on my speaker voice. My family was cruising with me last cruise, and when they heard my first announcement, they were like, where did this TV personality voice come from? So, you know, I try my best to speak as clearly as possible, of course, just to make sure anyone from any background or any place of the world can just understand the basics of what I'm saying. So that could be pretty tricky, but for the most part, I don't get any issues with it, but it can be challenging sometimes. So I think a lot of the guests have this misconception that we work 24 hours a day. They see us everywhere, and which is a good thing. And I think since they see us everywhere so often, they really think that we're working 24/7. But no, a lot of the team members, we have time to go ashore, we have time to relax, and we have time to have, just a break time. And during the day, in the evenings, in the mornings as well. I think one of the biggest things that surprised me is in terms of managing people and acquiring more patience. I did not know I was not as patient as I was before I became a leader. I did not have patience, but now I have the patience of an elephant. So if something was to occur, I know to just sit back, relax, and listen. So prior to this role, or prior to even working in entertainment, and even prior to working on Holland America Line, I sometimes had this thing where I would listen to respond rather than listening to understand. So I think now in this particular role, I'm listening to understand, then respond. I teach line dancing. So a lot of times, I'm now a professional line dancer. So my hidden talent is a line dance teacher, in which I'm now going to bring on in my entire life. So when I get home, I'm going to be teaching some seniors how to line dance at the seniors club. And that is something I'm going to do. So that is now my hidden talent. So I have 3 favorite ports. I think my first one, what I would say is number 1, is going to be Christchurch, Littleton in New Zealand. So Christchurch was actually the first time I went on a hike. Caribbean people don't do hikes. We don't do that, that's not for us. But this was the first time I went out of my comfort zone and actually took a hike. And it was one of the most beautiful experiences I've ever had in my life. Another port that I really like is Trieste in Italy. And the reason why I like Trieste in Italy is because you can walk off the ship and you can find $4 Aperol Spritz. And I think that that is the most amazing experience that you can ever have in the world, where you can just take €4 and you're able to get a few drinks and to have a great time. And the pizza and the food is so good and so natural. And the shopping center is so good as well. I'm a shopaholic. So for me, in terms of traveling, I could either do 2 things. I either stay in and sleep, or I shop. So I'm that type of person. So Trieste kind of gives me the best of both worlds when it comes to the culture and the food and the drinks, to be honest with you. And my final port that I really, really love as well is Tasmania. I'm a bit biased, as you can see. I'm heading over to the Oceania continent a lot, so the New Zealand and Australia is amazing, but is no place like Australia, New Zealand. Everything is so nice. Tasmania is somewhere that I'm going to retire, between Christchurch and Tasmania, because it's so country-like, it's so nice, the greenery, the scenery is amazing. So I have a few things that I like to do. So it depends who's on board. If I have some of my friends who I've sailed with before, because that's one of the beauties of working on a cruise ship, right? You join these ships, you join these contracts, you meet people that you've met 2 years ago. So I've had a friend, his name is Brandon, and him and I, we play video games all the time. So if he's on board with me, whether there's a friend on board or whether he's working and sailing with me as well, we play video games all the time. So he brings his Steam Deck and I bring my Nintendo Switch, and we either go into his cabin or my cabin and we play video games all the time. And if I'm not doing any video games, I'm either also in the gym. So I take my physical, mental health very seriously. So I have my time where, I need to go to the gym for an hour just to, work out some steam and, just to have some me time, listen to some music. My go-to playlist is Dua Lipa, Caribbean artist. I like Ray, I like Olivia Dean now, and Beyonce. So I get my workout playlist and I just keep on going and I do what I need to do. So my partner is a nurse, and with him being a nurse, sometimes he does a contract here and there, and then he comes on board with me. So Holland America Line does this wonderful benefit that if you are a single cabin, you're able to bring someone on board free of charge. So my partner sails with me. They did the legendary Voyage of the Vikings with me. They did the Caribbean cruise with me. They did the Alaska cruise with me. My family sailed with me on the Christmas cruise. So my brother, my mom, and my sister was on board with me as well. And they kind of saw how my job kind of works, and they're very proud of me as well. And we talked about how this job fits my personality, and we just had a lot more deeper conversations with it. So for me, I actually do cruises. So I did a 2-week cruise in New Zealand and Australia as well. And that was because I didn't want to travel too far. Now that I live on that side of the world, I try to do vacations either in Asia or in Oceania because of course proximity, right? So I did a 2-week cruise and in New Zealand and Australia, and it was the most relaxing experience I've ever had in my life. And then now for my vacation that's going to happen in the end of February, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to do a cruise also in Antarctica. So I'm going to try to do South America and Antarctica as well, because those are the two continents that I haven't really been to as much as the other continents. So that's on my goal. So other than sleep, spend time with my family and my partner and all that good stuff, I try to vacation. I try to do a lot of different things. So we stop over in a lot of different places like Fort Lauderdale, San Diego, Seattle, Miami, even sometimes in Texas, New York, and different places of the world, right? So people have the opportunity to just hop on the ship and get to where they need to get to, and then get back to where they need to get to, right? Without even taking a plane, right? So I think that's one of the benefits of, being a cruise line and being a part of this particular industry, is because it opens the door for so much different people and so much different places in the world, right? So for me, I think it's a very easy way, and especially if you're not in a rush to get anywhere. The advice that I would give myself is to stick with it. There was a lot of times where I wanted to give up, and I wanted to, go back home because either I'm homesick, I miss my family, I miss my friends, I miss my loved ones and all of that good stuff. I would tell myself, don't think too much hard on it. Everyone is okay at home. They are living their lives. They're doing what they gotta do. People are having babies, people are getting married and all of that good stuff, which is nice. And, you miss certain things, but at the same time, life goes on. So for me, that guy who joined the ships in April 2022, who got lost in every corridor around the entire ship, I would tell him, yeah, keep getting lost, because you're gonna be found eventually. You're gonna find your way, and you're gonna meet some incredible people, and I've met some incredible people who I can now call my best friends. I've met my partner because I worked on cruise ships. I've moved to Australia because I worked on cruise ships. I've been to basically all of the continents because I've worked on cruise ships, right? So I wouldn't have had all of this experience and wouldn't have had all of this exposure if it wasn't for Holland America Line. So one of the things, once you get that contract and you get that ship assignment, the contract length, and you know where you're going, one of the things I look forward to, of course, is looking at the ports. So you're looking at where you're going to go because you need to know how to pack. When you're going from one side of the world and you're going to the next, you need to know what you need to pack. Because like I said, I'm all for outfits, I'm all for shopping. So I'm mapping out, okay, we're going to Norway, we're going to Sweden, we're going to here and here. This has a store here, this has a mall, this has a this has a that. So I'm mapping out all of the places I want to hit when I get to the certain port of calls, right? Because like I said, I'm the type of person who likes to shop. That's one of the things I look forward to. The second thing I look forward to is, of course, it's like college. When you start your second semester, when you start your third semester, what you do is you want to see who's in your class, who's in your hallway, who's in this, who's in that. So you start messaging all of your friends saying, okay, what ship are you on? What ship are you on? I'm going on the Koningsdam November 1st until February 20 this or January 20 this. Where are you? So you start to then, look to see who's on board the ship to say, my friend is here, my friend is there. So is that just to get a sense of home when you get there, right? So you have that triangle that just connects together. You've got the money, you've got the people, and you've got the places that you want to see. So it all comes together collectively. So I think those are the three things I look forward to every time I join a ship. It's just a great time. So a big shout out to my mom, of course. She's been the biggest supporter that I've ever had in my entire life. So there's no words I think can describe how my mom has been such a big beneficial factor in my life. And of course, my siblings, I've got Chris, Dia, Yan, they've been such a big supporter as well, financially, emotionally, and of course, in all of the aspects of how a sibling should support you as well, right? Then another big shout out to my best friends. We've got Sarah, Randy, and Kylie. Thank you all so much for always just being there, a shoulder to lean on, a shoulder to cry on when times get tough, because that's what best friends are supposed to do, right? And all of these people are in Nassau, Bahamas. So once again, a big shout out to all of the Bahamians out there. We can make it. We can put ourselves on the map, get our country out there. We got to big up ourselves. That's what we say in the Caribbean as well. So a big shout out to the Bahamas, one of the most beautiful places in the world. Shout out to them. And then of course, one final shout out to my partner, Liam. I love you. And thank you so much for just always being there to support me when times of need. And just know I'm making the bacon and then I'm bringing it back home so that we can buy a house and do whatever we need to do. But yeah, love you all. So hi, welcome to my channel. Just kidding.